Hey, everybody, it's Daryl Self with DMD Realty. I wanted to introduce you to Wade Betts, a great lender with Nexa Mortgage. I'm going to have him tell you about his niche of working with veterans, and then a little bit about he and his company and his process.
Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate that. Yes, today we're going to talk about VA home loans. VA loans have a bit of an undeserved bad reputation, and I specialize in helping veterans build wealth and memories with real estate. And I do that by helping educate the community about why the VA home loan is such a great and earned benefit. All right, so a little bit about me. I've been in the mortgage business since 2006. I've literally helped thousands of families in that time, and hundreds of them have been veterans. So the reason I got into the VA niche specifically was, frankly, I got tired of seeing how mistreated the veteran community was by some of these lenders out there that even publicly claim to be military friendly. And I've just had to rescue so many deals from these types of institutions that I thought that it could be done better. So I started specializing in helping veterans, and it's been incredibly rewarding to help veteran families get into homes.
All right. Yeah, I enjoy working with veterans myself. I appreciate their service to the country, and I appreciate someone that has a passion for working with them on the lending side too.
They served us. It's time for us to serve them. I'm actually an instructor. I don't know if you can see it, for military.
Yeah.
So I specialize in helping educate the real estate community as well about the benefits of the VA home loan process. So it's a passion of mine, and that's just, business-wise. Personally, I support Carry the Load for the charity, Veterans Charity. So if you're going to get involved with the Veterans Charity, just make sure it's something that really resonates with you, and you can't just sit here and say you specialize in helping veterans if you don't do anything in your personal life to do that as well.
Right.
So it's just, it's really impactful.
And that's a conversation we need to have at another time about the Veterans Charity as well.
Exactly.
So what does the veteran need to know? What makes a VA loan better for them? I know it's designed for them. And is there anything special they need to know? And what about sellers? Is there any reason they wouldn't want to take a VA loan?
No is the short answer. Okay, that's a big question, so I'll unpack that for you. But let's start with the veteran themselves. So some of the things that they need to know is that the VA, frankly, doesn't set the guidelines with regards to credit minimums for lenders. Okay, so a lot of times I have veterans come to me and say, the lender said that the credit minimum for VA is X, but every lender sets their own minimum. And right now, because of COVID, that window has kind of tightened. In previous years, it would have been a little bit wider, but for now, it's a little bit tighter. So what you need to understand is that the VA is very specific in what can't happen. And therefore, by definition, everything else is possible, but it's due to underwriter discretion. So you might get told yes from one lender and no from another. And it's not that the VA guidelines are different necessarily. It's just that one lender could justify it in their opinion and another cannot. So you're going to see some differences from one lender to the next. That's why it's important for you to work with a specialist that knows what's possible to help you navigate some of the bureaucracy of a mortgage. And that's true for any loan type, but VA especially. So veterans need to know that they'll be asked for a certificate of eligibility. Most veterans, frankly, don't have this document. It's super simple for a lender to pull it usually. But here's the big thing. If you're talking to a lender and they're pre-approving you for a VA mortgage, make sure that they have their certificate of eligibility document in their possession before they issue a pre-approval letter. Now, the reason being is that without that certificate of eligibility, you do not have an approvable VA mortgage. And the fact is, lenders aren't required to pull that document until they're ordering the appraisal. which is when you've already got earnest money on the line and you're deeper into the process. The fact is, 7 out of 10 times, maybe, that document, when you go to pull it, comes back in seconds. So most lenders don't get in the habit of pulling it early because they usually don't have to. But what happens is, on those 3 out of 10 times where it doesn't come back right away, sometimes you have to upload additional documents to the VA, and then sometimes it can take days, weeks, and yes, months to get it back. So if you don't have that in your possession first, you do not have an approvable VA mortgage, and I would not go making offers without that. That is the number one thing that I see that kind of blows up VA deals, is that the lender doesn't get that certificate of eligibility document early enough in the process.
And question, speaking of COVID, has that affected the time frame to get the COE back?
No, it really hasn't. Where you start seeing some delays is if you have to go to like the National Archives or something like that. But even then, there's expediter services that you can pay like a $90 fee for, and you would get that back in, let's say 5 business days as opposed to weeks.
Okay.
So there's ways to help navigate it, but if you don't work with somebody that knows how to do that, then you're possibly shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak. So veterans absolutely must know that their lender is pulling the certificate of eligibility up front. From there, really what's coming into play these days a lot is credit score, honestly. Pre-COVID, that wasn't as big of a concern for a lot of lenders with VA. However, with COVID, that window has tightened up. So lenders aren't necessarily saying no to veterans with less than perfect credit, but they're pricing those loans differently, so where it becomes tough for the veteran to say yes. So I don't want to generalize, but if you've got above 640 credit, you're probably getting some really amazing rates. But I'm seeing a difference between 639 and 620, and then I'm seeing a big difference between 620 and below. So that's where I'm usually having conversations with veterans about, let's get into some credit repair, because it's not that I have to say no. I can say yes, probably, but yes looks really ugly. And so I'd rather just let's take a couple of months, let's get your ducks in a row better, and it's just going to save you a significant amount of money in the long run. So everyone's situation is different, but it's usually better because it's that big of a difference typically.
Oh, wow. And I'm sure they appreciate that additional help.
Yeah, I mean, the alternative is you put them in the loan up front, which has high rate and fees because that's all they're eligible for. And then what they've done, they have to get their stuff in a row afterwards, and then they have to refinance. But that costs money. That's like thousands of dollars. So if you can avoid that, let's avoid that. Let's just do it right the first time, and let's take the steps. So my job and a lender's job is to show people what yes looks like. Okay, so the analogy that I like to use is that I'm your airplane captain. I've literally flown this flight thousands of times, and I promise to land you safely in your new home. I don't know how long the flight's going to be or if we're going to run into turbulence, but I promise if you follow my in-flight instructions, I'll land you safely and you'll be a happy homeowner for years to come. But it is a bureaucratic process to go through a mortgage, not just VA, just any loan is a bureaucratic process.
Now, speaking of that, when it comes to appraisal, anything unique about VA appraisals?
So there are. So you asked earlier, what does a seller, or why should a seller or why would they consider a VA offer? And honestly, a VA offer is going to be the best offer that they will get. So most people don't know this, but the median income of a veteran is significantly higher than a civilian, significantly. I'm going from memory here, but I want to say like the veteran median income is like $87,000 a year, whereas the civilian median income is like $57,000. So it's substantial. Wow. Yeah, the average veteran in Texas has a credit score, I want to say, of 712. God, I should have looked these up before we did this, but it's really pretty impressive. The average VA offer 28% of the time, the veterans make a down payment. So that's one of the big benefits of a VA mortgage, is that it's zero down. And I get told a lot by realtors that I'm talking with that, the veteran doesn't have any skin in the game. And to be frank, that makes me really upset, because they put their life on the line. So they've got way more skin in the game. But what the realtor is not thinking, I mean, honestly, it's just good financial management. Why would you put more money down on a home that you don't have to, at a rate that's going to be in the twos, let's just say, low to mid twos? You can not make a down payment and save that money and have that compound in the stock market at 7 or 8% or whatever, and just let inflation increase the value of your assets, while it basically chips away at the real impact of your mortgage, because it's a long-term fixed rate debt. So just because a veteran is not choosing to make a down payment doesn't mean they don't have the ability to, but maybe it's just not good financial planning to do it. So the whole "they don't have skin in the game" argument, that is complete BS. Literally 28% of VA loans in Texas have a down payment associated with them. And I also get told sometimes that VA mortgages take longer. That's not true either. I think the national average for VA mortgages was 24 days last year, 2019. Now look, I realize that 2019 is not 2020. Okay, so I would expect that amount of days would go up a decent amount this year, just because rates got so low, lenders bottlenecks in the process. So I'd expect that to be a little bit longer. But the point that it doesn't take really any longer for a VA mortgage versus a conventional loan. It just doesn't. And then you asked about the appraisal. Honestly, sometimes the VA appraiser would be a little bit pickier with the condition of the property, but they're really looking for health and safety issues. So they're the only thing that I see that they usually nitpick more than a conventional loan per se is like peeling paint. They usually want you to scrape and repaint, because they find that to be a conducive element. But
so similar to an FHA loan, and that
exactly the same. Exactly the same. But here's the beauty of a VA appraisal process. So the VA loan is the only process that has two ways for us to impact the value in the transaction. So most people don't know that when the VA appraiser goes out there, if he's struggling to make value, he initiates a process that's called Tidewater. Okay, that's where they raise their hand and say, "I'm not going to be able to make value. I need you to provide me comps, your 3 best comps." And we have 48 hours to get that to him. So that's where we involve the agents again and provide that data, because once the value is set, it's set. So this gives us a way to impact the value ahead of the value being determined. Now, here's the thing. Once the value is determined on any other loan, you're pretty much done. Unless there's like just gross errors in the report, that's the value. You're not getting it changed for anything. With VA, the beauty is that the appraiser, if you're going to rebut the appraisal, it's called a reconsideration of value. The appraiser is not involved in that conversation.
Oh, wow.
The underwriter at the lender talks directly with the appraisal department, essentially, of the regional loan center, and they coordinate together.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So it takes let's just say the ego out of it, because a lot of times when you're trying to rebut an appraisal, there's pride in that appraiser's work, and they're not inclined to change it. This takes the appraiser out of it, and there's a much, much higher success rate of getting those values increased. Now, they did limit what can happen because of COVID. So it used to be 15%. Now it's 7% or $10,000 essentially. So if your appraisal comes in way low, you're still kind of SOL. But there's usually enough wiggle room, because they're usually coming in just a little bit off if they are. So the seller and the listing agent, they would want to take a VA offer, because it is pretty much the one of the surest ways that they're going to make value, frankly. It protects the seller the most.
Okay, that's great information because I had no idea.
Right.
I'm
And the VA appraisal does not stick with the property like FHA. It sticks with the veteran.
With the veteran. Oh, not with the property.
Not with the property.
Another good thing to know.
Yep.
But important for a seller to know.
Important for the seller to know. Exactly. So there's lots of good things like that. There's no better mortgage program in America than a VA mortgage. Literally the lowest interest rates. They default at the lowest rates of any loan type as well. They have the most secure appraisal process, common sense underwriting. The average credit score is much higher than one would believe. 28% of them are putting down payments. There's just all these really good things, and most of that gets overlooked because it has a negative connotation sometimes, and it's just totally unfounded.
Wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of people will be happy to have this information too, Wade.
Yeah. That's why we teach it. You got to get out there and spread the word because those veterans have earned the right to use their VA home loan benefit.
Absolutely.
And it makes me upset when I have a listing agent tell me, can they go conventional? It's like, well, yeah, but that's not the best loan program for the veteran. So why don't you let me worry about the financing and you worry about making sure that your seller's happy? How about that?
Oh, and now speaking of that, wasn't there a change to the VA loan limits too?
So because of the Blue Water Relief Act, which went into law January 1 of this year, 2020,
Okay.
the VA did away with maximum loan amounts. So if you've got full entitlement, there is no limit to the loan that the VA sets. Now, individual lenders can set limits, and I see most of them set at 1.5 million. So if you need a bigger loan than that for a VA, they exist, but they're much, much harder to find. So me as a broker who's got access to like 100 plus lenders, I would be able to find that, but make no mistake, that narrows that pool really, really small. But, if you're doing a 7, 8, $100,000, $1 million VA mortgage, we've done a couple of those this year, and they're fantastic because you don't have to make a 20% down payment like you would with the jumbo loan. The rates are still amazing. They're different with it being like a jumbo VA than like if you're under the maximum conforming loan limit. That changes at the end of every November, by the way. So that's about the change
Every November. Okay.
for next year.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you've got full entitlement, there's no loan limit. If you've got partial entitlement, let's say you own a property currently that you're not selling prior to purchasing the new one, you'll have some of your entitlement encumbered with that.
Okay.
So we'd have to calculate off of your certificate of eligibility how much remaining entitlement that you have for the maximum loan guarantee. So how much home can you buy with zero down? And that kind of comes into the play. So there are situations where the veteran does need to make a down payment, but that's going to depend on if they've got full entitlement or if they've burned some in the past. Maybe they've had a foreclosure or short sale or something like that. It just kind of depends. That's why the certificate of eligibility is the most important document because it says all of that information on there.
Okay. So that's the number one thing when working with a veteran client, make sure they get that COE or tell them.
It's the very first thing that we pull. So literally as soon as they apply, we're on the portal trying to pull the certificate of eligibility. And if we can't, we have to call the regional loan center to do it.
Okay.
Or to help, I should say.
What else should folks out there know about the VA loans and the process? Anything else?
Just that. I mean, the veterans earn the right. They'll be the best neighbors you ever had. If you've got an offer that you're entertaining, like if you're a home seller or a listing agent, and you've got a very similar conventional or VA offer, take the VA offer. Just take care of the veteran. They took care of us. Take care of the veteran. Now, obviously, if the offers are way different, if the conventional offers are much higher, you got to do what's right by your seller. But if they're the same, go with the VA. You won't regret it. Just make sure, and this is to you listing agents out there, if you're entertaining an offer for a VA buyer, make sure you're asking that lender, do you have the certificate of eligibility in your possession yet?
Okay.
Because if you do not have an approvable VA loan.
Okay, that's great advice.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about the company you're with.
Oh, Nexa? Yeah, so they're the second largest brokerage in the country. One of the things I really like about it is that they've got literally 100 different lenders that I could send deals to. So don't get me wrong, I don't send deals to 100 different lenders, but I have the ability to. So if I've got a unique loan type, or this really kind of came up with COVID, some clients that had less than perfect credit, those loans became extremely difficult to do. Most lenders really jacked up their credit minimums and things like that. And a lot of the lenders that we have access to tightened up as well, but we've still got access to them. So essentially, if you've got a residential need, I likely have a financing solution for it. Do I specialize in all those exotic product types? Of course not. I specialize in VA. I knock conventional and FHA out of the park, and everything else I have access to, but I just need to talk with the client to see what's the best fit for them. Okay. And the beauty of it is, if I've got, let's just stick with a veteran, if I've got a veteran client, their specific situation would dictate which lenders I would be recommending to place them with, because every lender has different strengths. They all have different rates. They all have different turn times and systems. Like I've got one that has amazing rates, but they are a dumpster fire of a lender that I would never, ever send a deal to. You're chuckling. It's terrible. They have to have the lowest rate to keep you there.
Because the
So,
service.
yeah, so you're getting what you're paying for. If you want the cheapest, you're usually getting the cheap service. Okay. But if you want to have a competitive rate, which most consumers do, you just need a lender that can deliver on the contract date. So right. You don't need the rock bottom terms that bait and switch mortgage might have online. What you want is a competitive rate that you can actually close at and get your family into the home that you're under contract on.
And close on time.
And close on time. There is a epidemic of closings that are closing lates right now.
I hear that, and several in my brokerage on listings we've had have been closing late.
Yes, so be flexible. Just know that these are unprecedented times for the lending community. Lenders for the year of 2020 are probably going to do double or triple their annual volume. I mean, it is causing unprecedented bottlenecks. So just know that things are going to take a little bit longer than any of us would like, ourselves included, and just kind of roll with the punches. Remember, I told you, I'm your airplane captain. I will land you safely. We could run into turbulence, but follow my in-flight instructions and it'll all work out well.
And Wade, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So you can call or text that number, 469-925-0374. So again, 469-925-0374, or go to winningwithwade.com. So winningwithwade.com, that's my website. You can reach me there as well, and I'd be happy to assist. Daryl and I are looking to help more families this year, so we would all love for you to count on, we'd love to be able to count on you to pass the name along if the opportunity presents itself.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this interview today, Wade. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.